Hi everybody, thanks for joining again. Well, in today's video we're going to be talking about supercharging. Specifically, a lot of it has to do with the new supercharging credit program that last night Tesla finally released all of the details on it because they were talking about changes since November of last year, so we finally have the details on this. So today we're going to talk about the supercharging program, the credits, how it affects, the pricing, what you can expect for Model 3, and in the process we're going to learn about supercharging and how it works and go from there. So first thing to know, as of January 15th of this month, all of the cars, Model S and Model 3s and Model X's, so going forward, will fall under the new Supercharger credit program. So the free for life charging that was part of a Model S and Model X is going away. So any new orders that go in after the 15th fall under the new credit program. So what does it really mean? What it means is that on the anniversary date of the delivery of the vehicle, when you take delivery of your Model 3 or your Model S or Model X for that matter, that becomes the effective anniversary date of your vehicle. So every year, you will get 400 kilowatt hours of free supercharging credits added to your My Tesla account. Now, if you need to go to the website, you can go in and search for My Tesla. In there, there'll be a section where you put in your credit card information, and that's how you will be billed for the usage over the 400 kilowatt hours that that you're given for free for every year. Now, that translates on average driving, all conditions taken into account, on average of about 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers of your free supercharging credits that are given to you. Like I said, anything you use above that, there will be a fee imposed. We'll talk about that here in a second. Now, if you remember in my last video, I had mentioned that there was some confusion about CPOs, or Certified Pre-Owned Program vehicles. These are cars that Tesla takes in on a trade-in and sells, just like every other manufacturer does. And these are not private sales, by the way. That there was some confusion about whether supercharging would be free for life on those vehicles that already had it or taking it away, because Tesla had removed all references to supercharging from the CPO website on the vehicle. So everybody was confused, as like, even including myself, and I'm guilty of it, thinking that they were going to take free supercharging away as of January 15th on those vehicles. Now, John McNeil, who's president of global sales at Tesla, reached out to me and clarified the situation. He said that if a vehicle came with supercharging, regardless of the age of the vehicle, prior to January 15th, free supercharging for life stays with the vehicle for the life of the vehicle. It does not follow the owner, it follows the vehicle. So we finally got that cleared up. So after that, everything falls into the new credit program. So thanks for John for reaching out and clearing that up. All right, so let's talk about some of the details about the new credit program. So what Tesla says on their website, and I'll put a link in the video description, you can read along if you'd like. What Tesla's doing is that they prefer to charge per kilowatt hour because they believe that's the fairest way to make sure that the energy is used. However, due to local regulations, like we're in Canada and you can't sell electricity or resell electricity by the kilowatt hour unless you're a utility. So because of local jurisdictions have different regulations about that, so what Tesla's going to do is that they will charge you per minute. If you go to the Tesla webpage, if you click the location down at the bottom of the page, you can pick your specific location, Canada, United States, or Europe, or whatever, and that way you can see the actual pricing on your jurisdiction. In the case of the United States, it's different for every state, and there's a drop-down menu. So the prices are all there. I do expect that the pricing will fluctuate. It's still in flux right now as it stands, so these things will change as the program kind of matures, and they have to take into account fluctuations in the price. Now, thankfully, these prices are not like gasoline. It's not going to change practically by the hour, by day. So it's still going to be cheaper at the end of the day. So that's still good. So what Tesla has basically said is that if you take into account, if you go over your 400 kilowatt hours of allowed credits per year, an average trip, let's say from San Francisco to Los Angeles, would cost about $15 US. Based on current rates in California. If I was to travel, say, where I live in the Toronto area, and say go to Montreal, which is about the same distance of Los Angeles to San Francisco, it should be around $15 to $20, somewhere in that vicinity. I haven't done all the math yet because, it's still a little bit confusing as far as that goes. I think Back of the napkin math is the easiest way is to really figure let's say if you have a Model S or a Model 3, we don't know what the battery size of the Model 3 is going to be yet, but let's say 60 kilowatt hours. Well, getting a 50% charge on a 60 kilowatt hour battery is about 30 minutes. So, multiply that by the minutes and you get a pretty good idea of where you're going to be sitting. So this stuff will fluctuate, as we know, and as we get more experience with the vehicles as they come out, we'll have some better numbers for that. So that's a rough approximation. The other thing you'll notice on the page is that Tesla has, for the people that have to be billed by the minute, like where I am, they have a two-tiered pricing approach. So there's a tier 1 and a tier 2. What does this mean? Well, the different tier pricing really reflects the speed of the superchargers, and I'll get into that here in a second. But basically, in a nutshell, is that when you go to supercharge, if you've ever been to a supercharger station, you'll notice that the stalls, these are the actual red and white stalls where you plug in your vehicle, are labeled 1A, 1B, 2A, 2C, so on and so forth. And the reason for that is that the stalls are paired together because they both go into a singular supercharger cabinet, and that's usually the cabinet that's behind a fence and you can't see. You can hear them sometimes because they got big fans in them. Right now, as it stands, the maximum kilowatt hour or kilowatt that the superchargers can deliver is about 120 kilowatt, when that's split between the two supercharger stalls. So the rule of thumb is that when you go to supercharge with your vehicle, that if you see two stalls that are empty and they're both A1 or 1A and 1B, you want to pick one that's empty and go there. If you see a vehicle that's already plugged into, say, 1A, don't use 1B. Go to 2A or 2B, whichever's open, because what happens is that the first car that plugs in gets basically all of the energy. If the stalls are all full and you have one that's open and another person's already there charging, when you plug into your vehicle, you get about half of the supercharging capability of that. So that's why the tier pricing is set to be 60 kilowatt hour on the tier 1, and above 60 kilowatt hour you have tier 2 pricing. Like I said, it has to do because of the fluctuations in the charge rate depending on weather conditions, who's plugged in first. The pricing on tier 2, which is the faster supercharging, is double the cost of the tier 1. I know it sounds confusing, I'm sorry. Let me give you an example. In Ontario, the tier 1 pricing is 13 cents per kilowatt hour, or per kilowatt, sorry, I'm gonna get hate mail on this. And the tier 2 is 26 cents per kilowatt. You'll notice it's double the price. That's because the supercharger will balance the amount of energy for the vehicle. Now, at the end of the day, you end up paying for the same amount, because whether you're there for 30 minutes or an hour because both stalls are full, at the end of the day, you're still getting the same amount of energy, and therefore you're paying the same kind of price. Now, I had mentioned in a previous video or in a comment on our forums that I was hoping that the supercharger credits would roll over, so any unused credits would roll over on the next anniversary date. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's a use it or lose it program. So I don't know what the thinking was there. Maybe it's to make it fair for everybody, but just keep that in mind, that the 400 kilowatts are renewed every year, but if you don't use them, you kind of lose them. So unfortunate, but that's the reality. Now, a little while ago, Elon had sent out a tweet that I was participating in, talking about Supercharger version 3. Right now we're sitting at Supercharger version 2. And it was in reference to Fred Lambert at Electric, who had asked Elon about the possibility of higher rated superchargers. And Elon had basically said, we plan on going, essentially, well, what he was insinuating is that we're going to be going past 350 kilowatt on the superchargers in the future. Right now, at the moment, this is just kind of information putting out there. It hasn't happened yet. We don't know what the plans are as far as that's concerned. My feeling is that if they move to Supercharger version 3, they will probably do an initial deployment at the heaviest used stations, I should say, along known routes, because Tesla knows how much the superchargers are being used. So it makes more sense for them to increase the power output of those superchargers in those critical places. Now, eventually they may go back and retrofit all the supercharging stations with a higher capacity. So a lot of that has to do with new battery pack technology. Obviously, with the Model 3 coming on, which is the 3rd generation battery pack and new cells, my feeling is that car has been designed from the ground up to take advantage of that. Now, we don't have confirmation yet, but it makes sense because, you know, you don't design a new vehicle with a particular battery pack and then say, you know, let's go to 350, now we got to redesign everything. A lot of this stuff has to go into engineering right from the start. So how does that affect Model S and Model X? Well, we know that Tesla is going to put the 2170 cells into the S and the X eventually. Whether they put it in before the 3 or after, we don't know. I think it's going to be pretty close to the same time frame, but that's kind of the future, so keep that in mind. So what is a supercharger? Well, a supercharger is a fast DC to DC direct connection to the battery pack that can slam the battery pack with many volts and many amps to charge it very, very quickly. When you charge at home, there are 2 levels of charging, level 1 and level 2. So level 1 is your regular wall outlet. In North America, it's 110, 120 volts. If you're a sucker for punishment, it takes a long time to charge a car that way. So most people will install what's called a level 2 or a 240 volt, 40 amp circuit, say in the garage or outside their home. And that will give you about 24 miles of charging per hour on the vehicle. You can put a simple connector in the garage or outside. It's usually you want to put a NEMA, what's called a NEMA 1450. There's also a NEMA 1430, and that's more of a dryer plug. But Tesla's been having some trouble with the little adapter. Actually, they sell an adapter on the website that connects with the universal mobile connector, which is the mobile, you know, connector that comes with every vehicle. So it's, you know, it's kind of hit or miss as to whether that works. So we really do recommend a NEMA 1450. Now, Tesla also sells what's called a high-powered wall connector, and it looks like this. This is a device that has the same connector that goes into the vehicle, but the main difference with this particular device, it's not a charger, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second. But this device allows you to take up to 80 amps rather than the standard 40 that you would feed it, provided you have a dual charger or on an older vehicle or a newer vehicle with the single 72 amp optional high-powered charger on board the vehicle to give you even more charging speed at home. The other advantage of this particular unit is that it allows you to daisy chain up to 4 of these units. So if you're in a business environment where you have multiple Teslas and you want to charge them all, or maybe at home where you're you know, a 2-car family, 3-car family, you have multiple Teslas. Good for you if you can. Where you can charge all the vehicles kind of simultaneously. Some other advantages too, but that's the main gist of this particular unit. Now, I've ordered one of these, and when I do get it and go through the installation process, I'll do a video on that so that you can see the whole process start to finish, from the electrician hooking it up and testing it. So that'll be in the future, but keep your eyes peeled for that video. So just so you know, every Tesla Model S and Model X has an onboard charger. Now, this charger sits under the rear bench seat of the vehicle, and it's designed to take the AC current, which comes out of your wall socket in the home, and convert it into DC, direct current, that the battery needs. Now, in the early days of the Model S, not today, but in previous models, you could order the car with a single charger or a dual charger. Now, we happen to know that the dual charger gave some people a lot of problems. They were failing. So what Tesla's recently done since the advent of the Model X is they now have a single 48 amp onboard charger that's standard on every vehicle, and you can pay an optional upgrade fee to get a new higher powered 72 amp single onboard charger. When you get that, the only way you can get the full 72 amps is to make sure that you buy the Tesla high-powered wall connector. You can't do it with a standard level 2. It has to be the Tesla unit in order to do that. What we don't know at this point is that whether that option will come on the Model 3. I suspect it will. It'll be an optional upgrade that you'll be able to buy a high-powered onboard charger, 72 amp, for the Model 3. So far, I haven't heard any reports of those failing. They've been much better. So, you know, single that way seems to work a lot better. So that's kind of the gist of how the charging onboard the car works, and why you can travel practically anywhere and plug the car into anything is because the charger's onboard the vehicle. Now, Tesla also supplies what's called the UMC, or the Universal Mobile Connector, and it looks like this. This comes with every vehicle, and it's designed to plug into one end into the car, and the other end goes into your wall socket, either 110 or 220, level 1, level 2. And the ends of that connector are interchangeable. So you can get a 110, you can get a NEMA 1450, a NEMA 1430, and a variety of different things. Now, Tesla also supplies a connector, an adapter, I should say, with every vehicle that allows you to use any public, in North America anyways, level 2 J1772 connector. And it looks like this. It's kind of unwieldy, but this connector you usually want to keep in your glove box, so that if you're in a public place and you want to use a 1772 level 2 connector, you just take this little adapter and you plug it on the end and it goes into the Tesla. So anyways, that's free and it comes with every vehicle, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just that Tesla's connector is very elegant and slim, and Tesla wanted to hide the connector in the taillight, so they had to purposely make their connector smaller than anything else that's publicly available. So that's the main reason why they went that. It was a design decision. It wasn't that theirs was better than anybody else. That's why they make adapters for this kind of thing. So that's the main reason why they went with this. So as far as connectors are concerned in the world right now, it's a little bit of the Wild West still, with all these different, connectors and stuff. So eventually things are like in North America, at least in some parts of Europe, most of the standard is now going to CCS, or the combined charging standard now. That seems to be the direction that most of them are going. Still have Nissan that's hooking onto CHAdeMO. Tesla still sells an adapter for CHAdeMO. But in the future, I'm seeing that most of the public stations are really going to CCS. Now, I want to take about a minute or two here and just talk about this thing about supercharging in general, and do a little bit maybe of a public service announcement, or do some lip service to Tesla. The idea of supercharging is to enable long distance travel for EVs between destinations. I know that they have built some of these supercharging stations in heavily dense areas. Like we have one in Toronto in the downtown area, or close to the downtown area. I know some of them are in Los Angeles. And some people were taking advantage of the free for life and actually charging there rather than at home. The concept here is you should be charging your car at home, so that every day you get up and you have a full charge on your vehicle and you can do as you will. But some people have been abusing it, and here we are today. The Supercharger is not the only fast DC charging system you can use on a Tesla. I know it gets most of the media attention out there because it just gets so much media, but it's not the only charging system you can use. There's another standard out there, and it's called CHAdeMO. Now, Nissan Leafs have it, some European cars have it. It's mostly a Japanese standard, but it is practically everywhere. If you want a good idea where you can find CHAdeMO stations, you can go to plugshare.com, or even put it on an app on your phone, and you can do filters and you can see where all the CHAdeMO stations are. These are 50 kilowatt stations with the possibility of going higher. Tesla sells an adapter that you can use in your vehicle to use those charging stations. So it's not just superchargers. So I know I get a lot of emails sometimes and comments in the videos and say, oh, there's not a supercharger near me, I'm not going to buy a car. You can use CHAdeMO. There's another standard too called CCS, or combined charge standard. That's going to require another adapter. Tesla's on the working board of that, so I expect to see some kind of adapter probably in the near future. But keep your eyes peeled for that. But right now you can buy an adapter for CHAdeMO. I plan on getting one. I do recommend it for those who may or may not live close to a supercharger or are worried about long distance travel. It gives you the flexibility of using another fast charging standard that's not necessarily a supercharger. So try and think about that, and maybe even budget for it. I know Bjorn Nyland has bought a bunch of them from his Tesla credits that he's gotten from his referral credits, and he has a loaning program that people in Norway, or close to Norway and Sweden, I think, can borrow one for trips and stuff. So good on him for doing that. We might even do that in the future in this area too. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, that's what I have today on the new supercharging system. I hope it answers some of the questions. I might do a live stream sometime between now and a couple weeks when I go on vacation, and probably try to answer some more questions. Anyways, don't forget, you can join our forum at Model3ownersclub.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Model3Owners. And don't forget, we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/Model3ownersclub, where you can pledge to keep these videos going. We appreciate all of the support that our pledgers give us. And don't forget, we have some really cool t-shirts and stuff, that help support the program. So including this one. It's pretty cool. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.